Good morning, my tribal peeps. Let's talk about something that lots of people like to talk about, and it's really hard to teach and quantify. That is situational awareness. So, we've all seen these guys, these super elite, ultra tactical, high speed pistol instructors, shotgun instructors, carbine instructors on a square range somewhere, and they draw their weapon and they bang, 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 and then they look left, look right, turn around and look behind them, and then reholster their weapon. Usually they're squatted down in a weaver stance, but it looks like somebody took their head and just whoosh, made them a foot shorter than they ought to be. Or they're holding an AR and they got their hand all the way around here, wrapped around the end of the barrel, and the gun canted at a 45-degree angle. This is how you shoot fast. That's cool. I know some good old boys that'll dominate you with a 30 caliber deer rifle. Not kidding. So, but it's usually those guys that are trying to tell people about situational awareness. What is situational awareness? It's being aware of the situation around you. Wow, thanks, T. That was deep. You're the best. I know. But really what it is getting your spidey senses, learning to trust your gut, per se, and knowing what's going on around you. Just really being in tune with the situation around you. And that changes depending on where you are. If you're in Walmart, being situationally aware in Walmart looks a little bit different than being situationally aware out here. But I'll tell you some of the things that I do regularly, regardless of where I'm at. I always have these running, always, and I'm thinking about what I'm going to say to you, and listening this way, and listening that way, and listening that way, and listening that way. I'm listening in a 360-degree arc the entire time. A lot of times you'll notice in these videos, if you pay enough attention, that I'll be talking and I'll just stop for a minute and then I'll start up talking again. Sometimes it slightly derails my train of thought, but that's because my brain is trying to process information in a 360-degree arc around my dome. So I'm always listening. Contrary to popular belief amongst my wife and her friends, yes, I listen. It's just a matter of how much credence I give to the information that I'm hearing. Love you, babe. But I am always listening. And what I'm listening for is a change in inflection in people's voices that can indicate stress or tension. I'm listening for, out here, a change in the wind speed and direction, a change in the animals. Birds will twitter and tweet until a predator comes along. Then they'll stop. They'll go silent. So if you're hearing birds chirping and all of a sudden they stop, it could be something moving around. Two-legged or four-legged. Could also be the weather's about to turn. I'm also listening for just movement, constant movement. And on a day like today, it's harder to hear than it would be on a day like Friday a couple days ago, because Friday it was dry and everything out here snap, crackle, popped. Well, this morning it's wet, and this is a good rule of thumb for y'all that if you've done any hunting, or let's just say you need to move about, just leave it at that, whether you're bugging out or let's say putting eyes on a target, or maybe you got to go across the wire and go do some work. Damp ground can be highly beneficial. Now, you're going to leave marks. You're going to leave a trail a lot more in damp ground than you are in hard ground, but you can move much more quietly. So all of these are conditional things that you need to take into account when you're out and about moving around. But so I'm always listening all around my head, listening for the screech of tires, the acceleration of an engine. Like I said, the tonality of people's voices, not necessarily what people are saying, but how they are saying it matters a lot. And if you're not keyed into that, you'll miss a lot of societal cues. So I'm always listening, and I'm always processing that information, and I carry myself kind of in code yellow at all times. There are very few situations where I just really let my guard down, where I'm green, everything's good. And most of the time when I'm green, it's because I know I'm around a bunch of people that can go from green to red that quick. Does that make sense? I can pull back a little bit on my intensity if I'm around a bunch of other intense people that are also pulled back, because that way I know if I need to respond to something, boy, I've got a team with me. So it makes it that much easier to handle whatever the issue is. So I don't have to be as far into yellow as I normally would be. So I can relax a little bit. I can breathe a sigh of relief, can let some of the stress out of my shoulders and my back, because I've got good people with me. But I almost always carry myself in condition yellow, and I'll go red if I need to. And then, obviously, looking all the time. You'll notice on these videos also that I don't just we could just do this. We could just look at each other all the time. Well, number one, I don't think a lot of people consume YouTube that way anymore. I think YouTube is becoming more of passive entertainment. I think more people listen to these videos than they do watch them. And drop me a note in the comments and let me know. Do you listen or watch or both? I'd like to know, honestly. Because I tend to treat YouTube as a podcast. I put it on in the background and listen. So I'm always looking around my environment, trying to just ascertain as much information as possible. And then, I mean, look, our eyeballs are in the front of our face, right? You know, typical predator construction for putting together flesh and bone and nerves, right? Our eyeballs are in the front of our face. The way that we see is 50% of all of your ocular computing power is what's directly in front of you. And that's why the way our eyes work is if you look directly in front of you, you get a really clear image directly in front of you. Everything else around you in your periphery is going to be fuzzy. So the part of your eye that looks directly in front of you is only 5% of the structure of your eyeball, but it's 50% of all the computing power is going directly ahead. So proportionally, we're built to look directly ahead. It's our peripheral vision that's not that good. It's just to keep things from smacking into the side of our face or coming up on our chin. Or just basically, it's an early warning system before things get into right in front of us. And it also serves to see motion out of the corner of your eye. You see this and it attracts your attention. But when you see that motion, you're not processing that motion with the side of your eye. You turn your full gaze to it and look at it. Like that. Bird. So, it's the way humans see. We're designed to look forward, right? Well, if you're always looking forward in the same direction all the time, you're gonna miss a lot of things. A lot of things. So, I'm always looking, I'm always listening, I'm always computing and doing a running threat assessment in my brain all the time. Now, part of situational awareness is not putting yourself in compromising situations in the first place. If there's 6 thugs in a dark alley, could you go into that dark alley and engage in battle with those 6 thugs? Yep. Is that wise? Nope. Well, you don't understand, T. I carry a Glock 19 and 3 spare magazines loaded with Federal Hydra shock ammunition, and I've got a Emerson folding knife, and I've got this and that. That's great. 1 round will kill you. Right here, terminal T, ocular cavity down to the top of the nose. That flips the switch, brother. Yeah, and you should learn to shoot that way, by the way. Learn to shoot the terminal T with every weapon you own. Because that flips the light switch. That shuts it off right now. So if you got hypothetically speaking, you got an Ahmed holding a clacker, trying to turn himself into a divot in the ground, terminal T. Boop. And instead of boom, they go the end. So, an Ahmed or a Steve or a whoever, okay? So let's work with me here on my racial insensitivity. I know I have progress to make. But, see, I hear cows mooing, and they're mooing to the northwest of here, which is interesting. Getting back to situational awareness. My way in here Friday, I saw 7 cattle trailers. 7 cattle trailers being hauled to town. I've also noticed that all the cows have been moved up from the big pastures to the small pens by the road. So, in talking with the farmers around here, farmers and ranchers, come to find out that, yeah, there's a big sale coming up. They're trying to get it in before it pours rain. Makes sense. So that's using your auditory inputs, your visual inputs, and then talking with people, right? Getting the intel. What's going on around you? Looking, listening, talking to people, right? So now it makes sense to me in my brain that I hear cows mooing a lot more than I used to because they're closer and there's more of them compacted into a smaller area. The implications of that for right now? Nothing. But in a different situation, that could be a big deal. So, most of it is being fully engaged in the situation that you're in. Now, that gets mentally taxing, right? I mean, that's probably why you're here on YouTube, is you're trying to take a break from the real world. So you're plugging into the fake world with some dude with a beard is talking to you about things that you kind of care about, but not really. And I get that. But at least let this sink into your gray matter. Situational awareness is good stuff. It'll keep you out of bad situations, and it will alert you to bad situations when a good situation turns bad. Little things like knowing the direction that you're pointing, on a map, on a compass at all times. That matters. Entry and exit points whenever you walk into a building. That matters. The size of a crowd and the attitude of a crowd matters. I don't do crowds. I don't like crowds. I don't even like going to functions at my kid's school. There's too many people there. And I'm supposed to be disarmed when I'm in there. A lot of people, plus no weapons, plus a strange penchant for people to start shooting inside of schools. I don't like it. So, pretty much just stay switched on. Just be engaged in the world around you. Be running a constant threat assessment in your mind. And it'll get to the point where it's second nature for you. The more you do it, the less you have to think about doing it. And that's when it goes from cognitive intuition to reflexive intuition, where you're not thinking about it anymore, you're just doing it instantly. See, now I got a crow crowing. I don't know if y'all can hear him. I got a crow crowing. So I got cows mooing, crows crowing. Weather, I bet you it'll be raining in an hour. We'll see. Anyway, that's my thoughts on situational awareness. It's a muscle. The more you work it, the stronger it gets, until it gets so strong that you don't have to think about it anymore. Y'all give me your thoughts on this. Let me know what you think. Talk to y'all later. Bye.